I came back to the letterpress shop he said was closed. The alert popped on our shared calendar at 9:07 a.m. Open Studio 6:009:30 lockup plus make-ready plus pulls. I stared just long enough to picture the press's flywheel turning like a polite planet, and then the event vanished as if the day had thought better of promising anything. 2 minutes later, a text from Aaron. Shop, closed tonight, ink roller split. I'll be home early, want me to grab ramen broth? Read, I wrote yes, and set the phone face down on a lighting plot I'd been pretending to finish for the museum. The phrase hand planes belonged to another room, but the rhythm of it kept sneaking back into my mouth. We've been together 7 years. Aaron collects careful trades the way some people collect playlists. A season of bicycle wheels, a winter of silver gelatin prints, and this last year, letterpress at a co-op with a Vandercook that had outlived 2 marriages and a dog. He comes home dusted with paper lint and a little solvent, with the squared-away calm people carry when objects have told them the truth and not died of it. He says names that act like verbs: furniture, coins, frisket, tympan, packing, registration. I run an install crew. I aim beams, straighten labels, and ask for air more than money. Lately, I've been asking for air in sentences that don't know where to put it. We had a small plan for the evening. Broth, the dumb detective series we refused to abandon bed. At 5:12 p.m., though, the shop posted a story. The big ink roller back on black as a good mood, 2 chases on a layout table like modest altars, a box of newly washed spacing, and someone I recognized by posture and salt and pepper even from a distance, Miguel, rolling ink out into a thin velvet on the slab. Overlay text. We're open. Roller reborn. Make your make ready. Bring patient hands. If they're open, we could swing by and say hi, I said, practicing a voice with no agenda. For me it's closed, Aaron said, cutting scallions with the accuracy I keep mistaking for grace. I don't have the margin to talk printing without printing. Which is either about the press or about us. Got it, I told the knife. The part of me that likes to call itself prudence laced its boots. At 6:03, I was in the shop's lot composing the sort of administrative lie only the sender admires. Freight came early. Running to sign at the museum, I typed. He sent a thumbs up. I decided I could dislike emoji and still benefit from them. Inside, the air tasted faintly of solvent and tomorrow. The Vandercook sat like a useful promise. The platen press in the corner looked like a grandfather you didn't have to impress. The wood furniture, those little sticks that make negative space behave, was stacked like faithful pickup sticks. The smell of ink was less smell than memory. A dozen people were doing the quiet choreography of the place. Tap a slug, check a gauge, slide a galley, laugh once. A taped sign said, "Don't punish paper for being honest." Another calls our HUGS. Aaron arrived at 6:19 with his tote, the one that says the line WANTS air. He wasn't alone. He walked with Miguel the way people walk with someone who knows where the step is, that half body of practice space that isn't flirting until you need it not to be. He saw me and did a 2-heartbeat step back I've come to call his sabayarilo, then set a smile between us like a glass coaster that means well. Tonight's agenda, said Jewel, the coordinator, clapping once. 2 lockups, 1 broadside, and a dozen pull-your-own cards on the platen. Rules. Ink is a proposal, not a proof. Registration is kindness, not a court case. Make ready is patience in a paper hat. If you need to sneeze, not at the tympan. If you need to vent, not near the ink. The room gave back the laugh of people relieved to be told the rules they already believe. I followed Aaron with my eyes. He tipped the ink can, spatula steady as a breath, and rolled out a velvet oval that caught the light like common sense. Miguel offered a rag, then nothing, because sometimes the best help is leaving a gesture alone. Jealousy rose like a badly trained dog. I gave it a job. I held a chase while a college kid loosened a coin, fished a lowercase g from the hellbox for a woman whose G had emigrated, put my thumb on a line of furniture so it wouldn't wander while someone tested a side rule. Test lockup, Jewel called. You could feel the room inhale. Aaron slid the chase onto the bed and rolled the carriage. The first impression kissed newsprint, too light to confess much. Packing, said Miguel in the tone of people who have discovered the minimum. Aaron added a sheet under the tympan, rolled again. The E stopped apologizing. The T decided to exist. Jewel tapped a corner of the form with her fingernail. If your make-ready is lazy, your broadside files for divorce, she said, moving on like gravity that loved us. At break, coffee embarrassed in paper cups, pretzels that tasted exactly like keeping going, Aaron drifted over. So you're here, he said. I was told observation is already half registration, I said, a line borrowed from another sky. Also, you lied. Your voice is doing numbers. Roller's back, he said. His mouth tried for neutral and missed. And I wanted to be the version of me that learns without writing you a summary. Plus, his eyes slid to Miguel and then to the slab. I didn't mind letting someone else watch my pressure. He has certain hands. The phrase landed like a splinter I deserved. I used the truth I'd been saving for this exact spot. I was afraid you'd get used to a good job that wasn't mine. Aaron set his palm on the press rail the way he sets it on our table when he means to quiet more than furniture. Stay, he said, no theater, some mercy. But be a student. If Jewel asks what registration does, don't say makes it perfect. Say makes the path available. Can you do that? I can try, I said my nicer yes. The second half began the way second halves should, with someone handing you a tool you haven't earned. Jewel crooked a finger at me from the plat. Want to drive a dozen cards. We need a fresh rhythm. This press likes ordinary breathing. She set my hand where the grippers would kiss the stock and where the feeder wants a gentle insistence. Ink thin and present, she said. Pressure like conversation you intend to continue. I missed the first card. It skated. The corner blushed. Better than blood, Jewel said, moving me an inch to the left. The next pull arrived with enough in a weight that forgave me. The next, a smaller line in Garamond, said try again tomorrow and looked less like a platitude and more like a map. A child whose whole body had been a question all night pressed the pedal once and gasped with the authority people only have before mortgages. Across the room, Miguel and Aaron were locking a phrase for the broadside, something he'd written in sharp pencil and tucked behind our toaster weeks ago, the line WANTS air. They said it in 36-point bembo, a second line in 12-point, and stood back, measuring not the black but the white. Miguel moved a piece of leading half a width and nodded as if he'd taken a pebble from his shoe. Aaron rolled the carriage and pulled a proof onto newsprint. The letters were heavier than their height. Quick exercise, Jewel said from the ink table, her voice the kind that remembers kindergarten and graduate seminars. 5 minutes. On your phone or on the back of a misprint, write one sentence for tomorrow, not about type, about you. It has to describe you without nomming you. She didn't read over shoulders. We were old enough to fail privately. Aaron's glow said, don't type me so much, I open by myself. Miguel said, I prepare the air, mine. I am learning to make the path available without proving I know the way. A woman who had apologized for every extra sheet wrote, I can add packing without calling it cheating. A man who had over-tightened 3 coins wrote, I can stop before the last quarter turn. Jewel nodded as if we'd each found our own coin key at last. We inked the broadside for a first real pull. Aaron stood where his legs understood him, rolled the carriage, and the phrase came forward as if it had been waiting in the paper and needed only permission. Miguel held the sheet by its corners and combed the air with it, then slid it under the fan. The room inhaled for fun. Outside, the parking lot was the kind of quiet that isn't a verdict. "You lied," Aaron said, without knife. "Poorly," I said. "I could have said I was scared, that your night might have a life that doesn't need me. Tell me about Miguel without poetry." "He proposes and then steps out," Aaron said. "He doesn't collect debts." "Stepping out," I repeated. The phrase behaved like cinnamon in my mouth. Aaron took my hand inside his pocket, which is how he keeps me warm when I'm pretending I'm fine. At home, we put three things on the table: our sentences and a proof of the line WANTS air with a fingerprint we didn't mind. "Let's write a house service sheet," I said. "5 lines, a staff. We don't have to sing in tune." Aaron found a pen and didn't pretend it was a metaphor. We wrote. "If the calendar blinks, we talk. We don't let the shop decide our honesty. If a place outside makes us more alive, we show the other the door and say where the press switch and the tea are. Jealous means look closer, not hunt a fault. If one of us climbs onto his mezzanine, the other puts a tool in his hand. A coin key, a plane, a phrase, and a time to breathe. Once a week we hang something that breathes, image, label, sentence, without explaining it until we read it aloud together. In the weeks after, I learned the difference between ink that looks like confidence and ink that behaves. I learned not to argue with a square when it wasn't the square's fault. I learned to walk away from a chase before it bit me. Miguel taught me to push with my legs and not my need to be right. Jewel taught me to choose a shorter clamp instead of a longer explanation. Aaron loaned me his useful silence, the kind that keeps my hands from apologizing when what they need to do is adjust. I don't pretend type can fix what sentences break. We weren't broken, just poorly tempered. Tight edges, long proofs, compassion applied in the wrong direction. The shop taught me to wait for ink to decide it had become what it already knew it was. The phrase taught me that justify, a word from the museum, belongs to pages more than apologies. Give the line room so it holds. Last night Aaron slid our sentences under the magnet strip above the sink. Across from them I taped a photo Miguel had taken of the broadside drying, 2 clips, one corner curling the way paper does when it remembers its light. The dog, the hyphen between us, walked through the kitchen like a professional separator of lines. We left the window open. February leaned in with a yes. "Silence on the line," Aaron said, grinning. "Standing by," I answered. Summary minus the sermon. Don't confuse pressure with proof. Air is already help. Jealousy behaves when you give it a job. Stepping out is not abandonment. Making the path available is not domination. And the same line, offered by different hands, doesn't tell the same story but stories that hold each other up. Tonight the calendar box is actually white. That means soup, nothing compulsory, try again tomorrow. Aaron wipes the rollers with a rag he doesn't mind. I fold the towel. The dog tests the table legs like a repair person who knows when things are fine. Between the sentences and the proof I stick a small label. Here we make the path available without proving it. Aaron adds another. Here we say thank you. The kitchen breathes like a small press learning to be a home. I don't clamp the ending. I let it cure, then hold. That's enough.